the Sonia Shockley Show. Turn your bitter into better. Into better. It's the Sonia Shockley Show. It's the Sonia Shockley Show. Turn your bitter into better.
Hello, and welcome to the Sonia Shockley Show. I am your host, Sonia Michelle Shockley, inspirational singer and speaker, life coach, soul nurturer, and your big sister in relationships. And I help people transform their pain into purpose, their wounds into wisdom, and their bitter into better. And I am so excited about today because when I tell you I've got somebody on the show who has learned how to turn his bitter into better, his lemons into lemonade. Talk about a Father's Day special, a story of redemption, a story of restoration. I'm so excited, Pastor. Look, I got to make room for you to talk, but I'm just so excited about you being on the show and telling this testimony about how God just would not let you go, So first of all, Pastor, just give us a brief introduction for those who don't know you. Tell us who you are and what you do.
Well, thank you so much for having me on the show, Sister Shockley. I am Pastor Christopher Clark, singer, and I am the pastor here at the Independence. I have the privilege and the honor to be the pastor here at the Independence Boulevard Seventh-day Adventist Church located on the west side of Chicago. That is me. That is me. Good to see you, Mom Collins.
Mark Collins is watching, so let's be on our best behavior. But yes, Pastor, so you are a pastor, but you know, the road has not been easy. So if you could just get right into your journey, tell us about how it was for you and how you came basically from prison to the pulpit.
Amen. Thank you so much. Well, to be short, after a hard life, my mom had to put me out of the house. And when I was 17, because I was selling drugs in the house or around the house, and my mom found out. And so my mom did what mom should do. She told me I had to leave. And so at 17, I was out on the streets, just trying to find a way or make a way, trying to find myself and learn myself. And after a couple of years, I was able to enlist into the Marines. And so I went in the United States Marines for 7.5 years. 7.5 years I served, honorably discharged. And out of the Marines, I thought for certain I would be able to get a job. Searching, one of the reasons why I went in the Marines was because I had a prior background. Little small things, a gun case here, misdemeanor there, things like that. And so I thought 7.5 years in the Marines would clean up my record. And came out and tried to find a job and was not able to find employment. And, you know, my ego was, I've just spent 7.5 years in the greatest branch of the United States, the Marines, and I should easily be able to find a job. And I was not able. My wife was pregnant with our son at the time. And we just went from having a good income to having no income at all. And so after a couple of months of being on unemployment, I went back to the old neighborhood and began to hang with the old friends. And many of them had become big time drug dealers. And so I began to hang around them, and they saw me with nothing to do. And so they offered me opportunities, and those opportunities cost me. And I ended up being in a drug conspiracy. I think my indictment had over 60 individuals, and the charge was conspiracy to distribute. I probably knew maybe two out of those over 60. And when it was all over said and done, I ended up with being sentenced to 115 months in the federal prison system. 115 months. And but during that time, as we were awaiting sentencing, I was able to get out on bond. My mother-in-law, she's the one that actually put up her property. She put up her house as collateral that I would return back when it was time. My mother-in-law put up her actual house. And so I was out on bail for a while and went to school. During that time, I went to school, got an associate's degree in electrical. While I am out, I actually joined this church right here. I actually become a member, become baptized in this church. And then this church allowed me the opportunity to become a deacon. And so I'm a deacon and I'm serving. And before long, the prosecutor said, it's time. It is time. And so I had to end up going to federal prison. And you would hope that this story does not end like that. No, it does end like that. I actually went to prison, and it was during the time in prison that I really, really saw the calling on my life that God had for me. From a child, I had always wanted to be a pastor. I would watch the pastors and watch every little thing they did and how they dressed, but I thought I had to be perfect to be a pastor. And so while in prison, at our they had a time for us to have our worship services. And during those times of worship services, it turned into me not just sitting there, but began teaching. And then from teaching, it led to preaching. And I was at one prison and got in trouble. I got caught with a cell phone. At the prison, and they put me in solitary confinement in the hole. So we were locked down 9 months in solitary confinement, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And it was there that I just actually surrendered to God. I said, God, I've been messing up and I don't know what you want me to do. I surrendered to you. And it was right after that, the guy that I was in the cell with, he asked me, what are you doing? And I said, I'm studying the Bible. And he said, well, teach me, bro, teach me. And so me and him began to have Bible studies every day, like clockwork, every day. And before I knew it, one day we did not have study, and all of the inmates in solitary confinement began to knock and beat on the door and said, hey, where's the study at? I'll be at my door listening to y'all. Where's the study? And so I'm just sitting there in amazement, like, wow, everybody's been listening to this. I can't believe this. And so finally, I was released from solitary confinement. I was transferred to Seagoville, Texas. And it was Seagoville, Texas. There was a pastor that would come in to our service named Pastor Rogers Johnson of Texas. And he would come in, and our services began to grow and grow and grow. And he told me one day, I said, sir, the men, the inmates, we appreciate when you come in. And he said, that's not me, that's you. He said, you are the one that's always here. He said, you doing majority of the preaching and teaching. He said, I think you have a calling on your life, and it's starting right here in this prison. And so not knowing, what would happen with my life, I was released from prison after the time was served and just did not know what was going to happen. And came home. I was able to finally, after months and months and months of looking for a job, no one would give me a job out of prison. And after months and months of looking for a job, I finally was able to get a job at the Salvation Army as the nighttime custodian. And it was there at one night, just extremely overworked, sweating, mopping the floor. And I just stopped mopping. And I said, God, this can't be my life. This can't be it. I said, I know I just come home from prison, but this can't be it. And the Spirit of the Lord spoke to me just as clear as we are hearing each other right now. He said, you are doing that because you want to do that. I already told you what you should be doing. And I said, yeah, God, but to be a pastor in our church, you got to have a bachelor's degree and a master's degree. I said, I can't tell my family I'm going to go to school for 8 years. I just come home from prison. And the Lord said, if you just trust me, I'll open up windows for you that nobody can shut. And I said, okay, Lord, it's in your hands. It's in your hands, Lord. It is in your hands. And so lo and behold, I'm back here at the church. I'm the deacon. The church welcomed me back with open arms, had me be the head deacon. And one day, one Wednesday night, I'm cleaning the church, and the pastor that was here, Pastor Best, called me in the office and said, "You did ministry in prison. You helped souls come into the kingdom." He said, What about now? What are you doing?" And I was like, "I'm just here. I'm serving." And he said, "You have a calling on your life for ministry." He said, "You should go to seminary." And I said, "Wow." I said, "Thank you, sir. I appreciate that. But I don't meet any of the qualifications to be a pastor, to be accepted in the seminary." And he said, "You should apply." And I said, "I appreciate that. Thank you so much." I said, "But I don't meet the requirements." And he looked at me and he just shook his head and he said, "You should apply." And I said, "Sir, I appreciate it, but you're not listening to me." I said, "They want ACT, SAT, bachelor's, all of this." I said, "I have none of that." He said, "You should apply." And I said, "Good gracious, are you not listening to me?" And so we went back and forth for quite some time. And then I said, "You know what, sir, I'm going to go home and I'll look at it." And he said, "Yeah, you should." And I went home and looked at it. My wife and I, we were broke. We barely had 2 nickels to rub together. And I'm looking at the application. They want $95 just to fill out the application. And I'm saying, good gracious. And I asked my wife about it, and my wife said, "Sure, no problem." And I'm saying, huh? I'm expecting my wife to, "No, we don't have money for that." But my wife, she said, "Sure, no problem." And so I filled out the application. The process began. And finally, as the process began, they called me, reached out to me, the university, and said, "Christopher, you don't meet the requirements to come to Andrews University." And I said, "Okay." They said, "However," they said, "we do accept 5% each year who do not meet those qualifications. And so we are going to send you some assignments to do. And if you can do those assignments, we will at least consider you." And so they sent me a paper to do. They didn't send assignments. They sent me a research paper to do on eschatology. Never heard the term eschatology in my life. And so I really wanted to quit. I really wanted to give up, but I had some people in my corner that were just there for me. They would not give up on me. And lo and behold, the paper came together. I submitted the paper. They received the paper and told me they would consider. And so I'm waiting. And lo and behold, the Lord just had spoke to me and said, "You need to step out on faith. You have to believe this by faith." And one day I was at work and they came and introduced me to someone, their version of someone who was in a seminary. And it was joking to the boss that was there. He said, "This is Christopher, our nighttime janitor. He thinks he's going to seminary." And he laughed at me. And that was all I needed. I said, "Well, it's funny you say that. This is my last week." And his mouth just fell open. I said, "Yes, sir. This is my last week." He said, "Yes, but you haven't been accepted." I said, "I know, but I'm going to step out on faith." I said, "I'm going to step out on faith." And so I stepped out on faith. The following week, the seminary called me and said, "Tell us something about yourself. We're going to consider you." And so they did that. And they called. I had to reach out to them the next day. And he said, "Christopher, how are you?" And I'm, come on with the pleasantries, man. You know why I'm calling. And so he said, "Christopher, we looked over your application and they said no." I said, "Okay, well, thank you so much." And he said, he said, "The Holy Spirit led us to take a break. And during that break, we picked back up your package and we reconsidered. And so, Pastor Clark, we want to welcome you to Andrews University Seminary." And so at this point, I cannot speak anymore. I'm just flooded in tears. I am done. And my wife was sitting on the side. She knew what had happened because she saw me crying. And so I just can't believe it. I've been accepted. I have been accepted. And so I could not wait to let the Pastor Best, know. And he was not surprised. To my surprise, he was not surprised. He said, "Dude, I already knew this. He said, "You had to know this. You had to be reaffirmed to this." And so I was accepted, began to go to Andrews University. and very, very hard studies because I had not had any of the undergrad experience that all of my colleagues had. They had Greek, they had Hebrew. I had never ever seen Greek or Hebrew in my life. And so I'm sitting there saying to myself, this doesn't look good. This does not look good. But every step along the way, the Lord blessed. Every single step along the way, the Lord blessed. He even allowed me to come back here to my home church and do my internship. And so the entire time I was in seminary, I was coming back here on the weekends doing my internship here at the church, going back and forth between Chicago and Michigan for all of that time, the entire time of study. And the Lord blessed. After they added some additional credits because I did not have the bachelor's degree. And so they added additional credits. And I would argue with them. I would argue with the office and say, this can't be right. You keep adding credits. This doesn't make sense. I'm supposed to graduate. And they kept adding credits. And lo and behold, I did not know that this was how the Lord was working it out, because the exact day that I was released from prison, May 5th, was the exact day that I walked across the stage to receive the diploma. That can be nothing but the hand of God. That God says, when I author your story, when I write it, nobody can explain it away. Nobody can take credit and say, I did that, or you owe me. No, that was nothing but the Lord.
Let's take a breath right there. OMG. I'm telling you, it's so many things I wanted to say, but I didn't want to interrupt because the story is just so powerful. Of course, tears are in my eyes as I just celebrate with you. But let's go back to being in prison, because, you know, your story is like Joseph's story, where we can celebrate on the end because we know how the story is going to end, you know, even though your story is still in progress. But you can celebrate because you know what happens. But when you were in prison, Pastor, you did not know. And I want to talk to the people right now who are in that place where you just don't know. You really are. And I love that moment where you talked about surrender, where you were like, God, please help me. I surrender. What do you want me to do? And then you started doing the Bible studies. But let's go back to those emotions, those feelings, and talk about what you did to stay encouraged, even though you didn't even know what the future would hold for you.
Well, I continued to read. I continued to study my Bible. I prayed. I made it a point that I would faithfully pray 3 times a day, no matter what. I would stop and I would pray. And constantly throughout the day, I was reading and studying my Bible. But I also had a different walk where I knew I'm not walking totally with the way God would have me to. I knew that. I knew I had not totally surrendered. And so with that, that's where the final moment, when I was put in that hole and could not go anywhere, I knew, I said, okay, this is me. I did this. And it came to a moment where I just had to surrender and say, okay, God, I'm in your hands. I am in your hands.
Great, great. Talk about taking ownership of mistakes and choices that you made. Talk a little bit about that. So many people want to stay in the victim mode. They want to say, you know, it's because of this situation, because I didn't have a father, or my mama abused me, or, you know, they want to make excuses. And I'm not trying to negate any of that pain, because yes, you know, people have been through some very difficult situations, but there's a moment in life where we have to take ownership and say, what part did I play in where I am right now? Can you talk about what that moment was for you?
That moment for me was 2 moments for me. The first was a little bit after I was incarcerated, and I got into a situation where there was someone who got into a fight. I knew the person. I helped them fight. I was sent to the hole for that. And in the hole and solitary confinement, I just had a conversation with the Lord. I said, Lord, I don't understand. Why me? Why me? And we had a conversation then, and I just accepted then, this is me. I put myself in this. This is my fault. But then there was another moment where we have in the plea agreement, they have a moment where they actually give you points off towards your sentencing, which is called acceptance of responsibility. And in that acceptance of responsibility, you have to admit your role and what you did in the actual crime. And so that was a moment that was just really eye-opening and reflecting to me. Even in writing what I would say in court, I had to admit to my wife, I had to admit to my church members, my family, what I did, my role in this. And I had to accept that and said, hey, there's nobody to blame but me. I can only blame myself. I made those decisions. Nobody put a gun to my head. Nobody forced me. I did that. And so I had to have that moment. Yes.
Yes, for sure, for sure. And we all do. And I think that's the maturity. That's when you're leaving from, I put away the childish things and I become a man. So definitely. Talk about the crowd that was so attractive to you back then. Why were they attractive? We can say we kind of got into the wrong crowd, but we know birds of a feather flock together. We're just kind of naturally, we gravitate towards certain people. What was attractive to that crowd? Talk to the young person who might be listening right now, who's attracted by that crowd. You understand their story.
Sure. All of us, I don't care who you are, we deal with some type of acceptance. We have to be accepted by somebody, our friends, this crowd, the popular crowd, the in crowd. We have to be accepted by somebody in order to feel like, okay, I've made it, or I'm here now. And my thing was the streets. I wanted to have some street cred in the streets. Even when I was out there in the streets, they always considered me as the lame or the military guy or what you doing around here. And so I did not want to be accepted at that. I wanted to be accepted as I'm in the streets with y'all. Never had been in the gang before, never joined the gang or anything like that. But I wanted to be accepted into the streets. And so that's what kept luring me back to the streets. There was times when I would go hang out in the streets with the guys on the block, and they would ask me, what you doing out here? Don't you got a wife? Don't you got a home? Go home, man. Get from around here. But I wanted to be accepted. I wanted to be a part of that life until I realized that is not me. And that the Lord was allowing things to happen to show me when I went out there and they would not want me out there. Go home. Why are you out here? Oh, I just want to come out here and hang on the block and drink and smoke. And no, go home, man. Why are you out here? And I would force myself to try that. And so it comes to just really finding out who your crowd is, or actually becoming the person that the crowd gravitates to because of how positive you are. There's a saying that says, show me your crowd and I'll show you your future. That is very true. That is very true. If you hang around drug dealers and gangbangers, it only leads to two things: jail or the cemetery. But if you hang around positive people, people that have something going for themselves, it will always lead you to the very same things that they're doing. You can only be attracted to what you are around. And so that is my message to young people. You have to really not try to be accepted by others, but others should accept you, and not compromise who you are just for the purpose of being accepted.
Yeah, for sure. And we all want approval. It's important to us. And when you think about the young person today and what they're exposed to on the media and videos, things like that, that kind of street life or hood life,
I was really attracted to that. Fast cars,
right?
The rims, the clothes, the money. I wanted the best of the best. I wanted the mink coat and the jury. I wanted all those things because I thought this would get me accepted. This would make people like me more.
Yes. Yeah, for sure. And that's real talk, Pastor.
Yes.
That's real talk. And it's real for many people, even if they don't even want to accept it or really just wrap their head around it. We are all trying to fit into some sort of crowd, and it's because we want to be loved. At the deepest point, we all want to be accepted. We want to be loved. So thank you for sharing
Yes.
that vulnerable information just now. So let's talk about the grief. That's my expertise. That's where I really like to talk about is the grieving. There's a lot of losses with this, Pastor.
It
I
is.
mean, when I thought about the losses, when we talking about 10 years in prison, there's a lot of losses, and time is only one of them. Talk about some of the losses and how you gave yourself permission to grieve those losses.
Um, One was my time with my son and my wife. They suffered just tremendously, and that was time that we could not get back. Um, we tried when I came home. We tried our best to make up, but there's nothing you can do to make up for that time. You can't get that time back. And so, even now to this day, my son and I, we are still building a relationship because I missed the most important, crucial years of his life, that I was not there. I was in prison. I could not have a conversation with him. And so when I came home, we are almost strangers now. I know of you, but I don't know you. I know mom, but I don't know you. My wife and I, we were very different. We kind of fell back into our role because how no long we have been knowing each other. But there was times where we had to make adjustments as well to get back used to each other. So that was one of the griefs that I'm still going through to this day. My son and I, we have gotten so much better and so much closer to each other. But there are still times where we still are working through some things. The other was family members that passed away. The other was my mom got sick. And so by the time I came home, my mom has Alzheimer's. And so my mom does not even recognize. She has never ever been able to see me preach today. Now she does not even recognize me, and so those were some of the things that really hurt. That really I suffered through. Yes.
Yeah, for sure. And I thank you for talking about your relationships because men value their relationships and they want to have those safe relationships. And talking about rebuilding with your wife as well as rebuilding with your son. Thank you again for sharing. So let's talk to that person who is in the thick of it. They're going through a similar situation. They can totally identify with your story. What three nuggets do you have? Three nuggets that you could give to them to just encourage them right now?
I would say one of the first things is that you have to follow your passion. You have to follow. I believe this, that God places something in each and every one of us. And it is us that defeats that dream, that goal, that profession, that passion. We look at things in our lives and we say, oh, I can never be a doctor. I can never be a doctor. That's that. Oh no, I'm not smart enough for this. I'm not smart enough for that. But God placed that in you. For me, I can never be a pastor. I can never do that. That they want you to go to school and do this and that and that. I can never do that. I can never do that. And so for everyone, I would say, whatever that dream, whatever that passion is you have to follow that. Now, the second thing is, how do you follow that? I believe you have to have an open conversation with the Lord, as I did. You have to have an open conversation and surrender to him and say, I am placed here on this earth for you. What do you want me to do? And he may say, I want you to do hair because doing hair makes you happy and it makes other people happy. And I tell everybody all the time, if you're doing your passion, if you're doing what you love, you will never work a hard day in your life. Never. Because you get up in the morning and you love going to work. You love doing this. This is my passion. 8, 12 hours go by and you say, wow, that's it. But when you're doing something you hate, what is not your God-given purpose, you walk in the door and say, "Oh man, it's 2 minutes. Good gracious. Ah, I got 8 9 minutes to 8 hours to go." You hate it. And so that's the second nugget I would say, is that you should um, have an open conversation with God and be willing to surrender to whatever He will have you to do, and trust and believe that He is going to open those doors for you. The third thing I would suggest is that surround yourself with positive people, only people that will mean you good. There were some people in my walk, especially as I was awaiting the process to be accepted to the seminary. There were some people that showed me their true selves, that showed me their true colors, that I was able to see. I don't need you around me, because all you talk is negative. All you say is negative. You try to discourage me from doing what God would have me to do. And if I had listened to some of those people, I would never be where I am today. And so I would say to the third nugget, each and every person, only surround yourself, only be with people that are positive, that will speak positive into you, that will encourage you, that will help you. If you say, "Hey, I'm trying to go to school," well, what you need? I need somebody to this or that, and they're willing to help you. But if you tell somebody, "Hey, I want to go to school," and what you want to do that for? I wouldn't do that. You 40 years old. It's too late. You done missed your calling. You don't want to be around those people. And so those are the three nuggets that I would encourage each and every person to do. Yes.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. And you have such a support system, whether you realize it or not, Pastor. I mean, even in those early days when you didn't really know exactly what your calling was, you had people supporting you saying, "No, no, you don't belong here. No, go home." In a way they were like supporting, saying, "No, go home, get out of here."
Yes.
And you had family, and I think about your church family and how they have embraced you. They just love you over there. So you have a lot of people in your corner, even Pastor Best, to say, "Hey, listen, you should go to the seminary." There's been some key people who have helped you make some pivotal shifts in your life, when you think about it. So let's talk about good mentors and how important it is to have a good mentor, somebody that you can have as like a sounding board to help you in the direction that you're trying to go.
I think it's very important for each and every person to have a good mentor. And when I say good mentor, I want to stress that is because all mentors are not good for you. You need to be able to have went through something if you're telling me about something. And so I need to be able to see where, if you're telling me go left, I need to be able to see from your mentorship where I went right. And this is what happened to me. And so this is why I'm telling you to go left. Okay, I'm willing to listen to you now. But if you've never been through anything, how can you mentor me? You need a mentor that has been through something and has accomplished what they needed to, and they are on the right track. They can help mentor and steer you the right way. So I would say it is very, very important for each and every person to not just a mentor to get you to that goal, but even after the fact, you still need a mentor, someone to keep you on your P's and Q's and make sure that you cross your T's and dot your I's. Someone that will tell you the truth, not what you want to hear, but someone that will tell you the truth and say, "Hey, I hear you, Sonia, but you dead wrong. You dead wrong, Sonia, and I'm going to tell you why." You need that person to be able to speak that truth to you. And you may not like it at the time, but it echoes in your ear. And when you're going right and they told you to go left, it's kind of hard to make that right turn before you say, "You know what? I'm going to go ahead and do what Sonia said. She said go left. I'm going to do it because I don't want to hear her mouth." But all the time, this is a good mentor and I'm going to listen to them.
So for the single ladies out there, they may not have the father, and they've been the father and the mother, and they'd like a a good mentor for their sons. I mean, I know people don't like me to say this, but it takes a man to raise a man.
You're not gonna preach my sermon that I preached yesterday.
I mean, really,
You're not gonna preach my sermon. I preached that yesterday. You're not gonna.
Did you? Oh, I gotta go back, Pastor.
You're not gonna preach it.
God made two parents for a reason. Now that's a whole nother talk show.
Yes.
You need to find good male mentors if you're raising a son, especially a black son. And so what advice would you give to a single woman who's, raising sons and looking for a good mentor?
I would say the key word I would use is cautious. To really, really find out everything that you can about that person that is potentially going to mentor your child, boy or girl. Everybody can't be that mentor. Some people have an ulterior motive behind it. Some people want to be seen. And so they're doing that mentorship so they can say, hey, look at me. Let's take a selfie. I took you to the movies. No, you don't want that type of mentorship. And it is hard. I would say it is hard. But you would want someone that can have a one-on-one and not be consumed and also be committed. The last thing you need is for somebody to come into your life and they disappear every 5 minutes. They're disappearing. You want somebody that's going to stay committed, that's going to stay right there all the way through. My son has had some mentors in his life that even at graduation, Chief Stan was right there with him every step of the way, and to this day, he still checks on him. And it is unfortunate, but a very true statement. Your children will listen to a mentor sometimes more than they will you. I can say all day long, wear a tie. And your kid look at you like you crazy. The mentor come around and say, hey, you should wear a tie. You look around, your kid wearing a tie. You say, what? That's what I was saying. They would listen to that. And so to the single mothers, I would say, be very cautious and letting anybody come into your child's life. Make sure that the person is very committed. Make sure that they're not overloaded to the point where when they come into your child's life, I'm busy all the time. I got work all the time. If you come in here, you need to be committed and understand we are drawing a line. You are my child's mentor. No, we not dating. No, we not hooking up. No, we not going on a date. You are my child's mentor. That's it. And so that's my counsel. That's my advice for that.
I love it, Pastor. Our time is almost up. It's really up, but I'm so enjoying this moment with you and so grateful that you're here to just share this story. And, all I have, my heart is filled with so much gratitude that you did not give up, that you aligned with your calling, because look at what you would have missed out on. Look what we would have missed out on if you had not said yes. So I want to thank you because yes, and I give glory to God, but it still takes us to be willing to surrender and say yes to God for him to do something just totally spectacular, totally extraordinary. And he has done that. And I feel like the best is still yet to come, Pastor. I mean, really, I just feel like there's so much more to your story. This is really just the beginning. I want to speak life. I'm waiting for the book. I'm waiting for the movie. I'm waiting to call you doctor. Dr. Pastor. I mean, I just feel like there's just so much more. You're just like oozing with blessings. And so just so grateful for you to come on today. I really appreciate it. So for the person who's saying, how can I reach out? This guy is fantastic. How can I follow him on social media or reach out to him? You can follow him on social media at Christopher M. Clark Sr. Christopher M. Clark Sr. You can also reach him on Messenger with Facebook and on Instagram at Christopher M. Clark Sr.
I am
Yes,
very good at returning responses. I am very
yes,
good at that. I stay on point with that.
yes, you are. Yes, you are. Just in closing, Pastor, before you go, what are some inspirational thoughts for not only those who are in prison right now, but also for those families who have been waiting on somebody who has been sent to prison?
Never give up. Never give up. My wife never gave up on me. There were times where I wanted to quit, and my wife never gave up on me. She made a promise to me that I won't quit until you walk through that front door of trying to get you home. But you have to understand that that starts from the day you walk in prison. You have to begin that process of coming home to something the day you walk in prison. I was in prison and I seen guys take jobs and they would literally mop a 4 square section, mop the floor every day for 10 years. That was their job. They mopped this certain section. That was it. When it was time for them to be released, you could see the look of worry in their face because they knew I've done nothing to prepare myself to go outside that door. And within 2 to 3 weeks, we always saw that person come right back to prison. Never failed. Always, to the point where people would hold their property because they said he gonna be back. He gonna be back. But if you are not preparing yourselves and you don't have a strong system ready to receive you, it will fail. I was blessed with this church family that when I came home, they welcomed me with open arms. They welcomed me with open arms. They took up a collection and they told me the prodigal son has returned home. And so here is a fatted calf for you. We hope that this will bless you and just get you off to a good start. When I was looking for employment, the church, they all began to talk and whisper and say, go here, go there, go here, go there. I know churches that would have told me when I came home from prison, you go stand by that back door and don't you move so we can keep an eye on you. But this church welcomed me with open arms. And so you need a good, strong support system, someone there to be preparing that way, but not just them. You need to be making steps as well.
For sure.
And even in prison, they have electrical jobs, plumbing jobs, different trades. In prison, that person, man or woman, can be doing plumbing for the next 10 years. Do you know what that looks like when you come out and you've been doing plumbing for 10 years?
Mm-hmm.
You can almost come out and start your own business. You just need money for equipment. And so you need to start that process day one when you walk in prison. If you have a loved one in prison, you need to be telling them, what are you doing to get ready to come out? If you just watching TV and eating chips and honey buns all day, that's wrong. That's wrong. You be doing something. Yes.
For sure. I laugh because I love me a good honey bun. But are there any resources? Like, where would you direct somebody who just got out? Do you know of resources? Is that something that you're aware of?
Not really. The resource I would recommend is just continuing to talk to God. That is the first resource I would recommend. Continuing to talk to God. And then after that, you have to be able to motivate yourself. You have to push yourself. When you're released to a halfway house, their only goal is we need you to be working. Okay. That's it. And you figure if you're in a halfway house with 100 guys, they sending 100 y'all to the same places to look for jobs. Mm-hmm. It's not going to happen. Yeah. You have to be able to motivate yourself. And so my job was every morning, I got up at 4:00 in the morning, and my job was to fill out applications all day long. That was my job. And you have to be able to do that. You have to be able to push yourself, motivate yourself. and be able to talk to people that can continue to motivate.
Yeah.
Everybody loves you when you come home for the first 3 weeks. And then after that, it kind of goes back to normal.
Right, right.
You know.
Pastor, it's real talk with you. I gotta have you come back. We're out of time, but I need you to come back. And I mean, because there's just so much more that we could talk about with this subject, and really wanting to help our young men. This month on the Sonia Shockley Show, we focused on men for the month of June. And so I want to thank you so much for sharing your story. It's just been amazing, fantastic, motivational, inspirational. I mean, if you can do what you have done in such a short time, it's just to God be the glory. Okay. I'm speechless.
Amen. Amen.
To all of you who have joined me today, thank you so much. I just ask that you like and share this video. Please like and share this video. Go to my YouTube channel, The Sonia Shockley Show, and subscribe. It is free. Sonia Shockley Show, subscribe to my channel. Let's get this great content out there. So many people need these inspirational stories to be a blessing to them. You can reach me at Sonia the Grief Coach at gmail.com. That's Sonia the Grief Coach at gmail.com. Or you can follow me on social media, Instagram and Facebook at Sonia M. Shockley. Sonia M. Shockley. Thank you again, Pastor Clark.
Thanks for having me.
There is a friend who was saying hello. I guess they have some sort of.
Yes, that's a resource.
A resource. Okay. Thank you so much for sharing that. I appreciate that. Thank you very much. And of course, we had comments. I think quite a few of your church members are online too, Pastor. So,
hey, IBC.
You got many of folks saying hello to you right now. So thank you everyone for watching. God bless you. Please remember that I love you with an everlasting love, and you can turn your bitter into better. Yes. Take care and God bless.
God bless you all. Happy Father's Day.
That's right. Happy Father's Day.